Imagine if I told you that something as simple as what you put on your plate today could decide whether you feel 10 years younger next spring, or whether you quietly shave 2 decades off your life. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But that's not a scare tactic. That's where decades of medical research is pointing us right now. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow, but instead of dragging your feet and reaching for the pill organizer, you feel light, steady, and clear, like your brain has been dusted clean. Believe it or not, one specific leafy green food could tilt the odds that way. And if you ignore it, the cost might be measured not in dollars, but in years of living well. Before we dive into this, let me make you a promise. By the end of today's episode, you'll know exactly which everyday food could either protect your memory and mobility or quietly rob you of them. But first, do me one small favor. Tap subscribe right now so you won't miss the simple health choices that might add good years back into your life. Now let me ask you something personal. Have you noticed how mornings feel heavier than they used to? You sleep, but somehow the tank isn't full. You stand up and the knees argue with you. You walk to the kitchen and halfway there you wonder, why am I even here? For many people over 60, this becomes the new normal. Fatigue that lingers like a shadow. Digestion that once worked like clockwork now stumbles. Names that used to roll off the tongue now dangle on the edge of memory. And the cruel part? You might think it's simply getting older. But here's the truth. Much of this decline is not destiny. It's often the slow effect of what we feed or fail to feed our bodies every single day. Scientists have shown that after 60, our metabolism, brain chemistry, and even muscle tissue become far more sensitive to nutrient gaps. One major review found that seniors who lacked just a handful of key nutrients were twice as likely to report chronic fatigue and memory lapses. Does that sound like you? Or maybe it reminds you of someone you love? If so, I want you to know you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck this way. Think of your body like the soil in a garden. Over decades, without fresh nutrients, the soil grows thin, weeds creep in, plants struggle, but enrich that soil with the right elements and suddenly growth returns. Your body, even at 60, 70, or 80, still has that potential to be renewed. And the fascinating part is that the difference between decline and renewal often comes down to the foods we reach for in moments so small we barely notice them. That image of the soil, thin or fertile, isn't just theory. I've seen it play out in real lives, time and again. My name is Dr. Jonathan Miller. For over 30 years, I've worked with older adults, helping them navigate the challenges of fatigue, memory changes, aching joints, and the quiet fear of losing independence. Day after day, I've witnessed how the right nutrients in the soil can bring someone back to life, not in a dramatic overnight way, but in steady, lasting steps. I didn't arrive at this specialty by accident. Early in my career, I kept meeting people who weren't sick enough to be hospitalized but weren't well enough to live fully. They were caught in that gray zone, alive but not really living. That frustrated me. It drove me to study aging more deeply because I knew there had to be a better path than simply waiting for decline. And what I discovered through decades of practice is that the smallest choices, a change at the dinner table, a habit in the grocery aisle, often create the largest ripple effects. I've watched patients regain energy, sharpen their minds, and reclaim pieces of life they thought were gone forever. One man in particular stays with me. Robert, a 74-year-old former mechanic, used to joke that his body was rusting from the inside out. His knees were stiff, his mind cloudy, his afternoons unbearably long. We tried all the usual adjustments, medications, exercise routines, sleep schedules, yet something was still missing. And then, buried in the simplest corner of his diet, we found a clue that changed everything. Robert was 74 when he first sat across from me. His hands, once steady enough to rebuild an engine blindfolded, trembled as he held his coffee cup. He chuckled nervously and said, "Doc, I used to fix machines. Now I feel like one that nobody knows how to fix." This was a man who had spent his life keeping things running. Cars, trucks, even farm equipment. He could hear a faint rattle under the hood and know exactly which bolt was loose. But now, when it came to his own body, he couldn't find the loose bolt. He told me his knees screamed with every step, his memory fogged over names he had known for decades, And by 3 in the afternoon, he was so drained he'd collapse into his chair, staring at the wall, waiting for bedtime. He had tried everything he knew. Fewer heavy chores, earlier bedtimes, short daily walks even when his joints protested. But instead of getting better, it felt like his body was betraying him a little more each week. He said it was like driving a car that loses a gear every few miles. First the strength, then the energy, then the clarity of thought. What hurt him most wasn't just the pain, it was the loss of self. Robert was the man everyone once depended on. His neighbors, his children, even the grandkids who loved Grandpa the mechanic. And now he felt like a burden, he admitted, almost whispering, "I'm scared my grandkids will only remember me sitting in this chair, too tired to play." Tell me, have you ever seen that look in someone's eyes? Or maybe felt it yourself? The quiet fear that life is slipping away faster than you're ready to let it go? When I looked at Robert's diet, it seemed ordinary. Toast and coffee for breakfast, a sandwich at lunch. Something quick and simple for dinner. Nothing extreme, nothing flashy. But ordinary, I learned, can sometimes be deadly. Hidden in that routine was a silent deficiency, a gap so small he never noticed it, yet so powerful it was slowly shaving years off his life. And when we finally uncovered that missing piece, everything began to shift. When I laid Robert's food diary on my desk, I felt a weight in my chest. The pages weren't just lists of meals, they were clues to why his body was failing him. Toast in the morning, a sandwich for lunch, meat and potatoes for dinner, day after day, the same beige cycle. Do you see the problem? His plate was full, but empty. Empty of the very nutrients that repair tissues, renew energy, and guard the brain against decline. It reminded me of an old car engine I once saw in his garage. From the outside, it looked solid, but when the hood lifted, the parts were corroded, dry, brittle. The body can be the same, running just enough to get by, but inside, quietly breaking down. And this isn't just a metaphor. Studies confirm it. A 5-year study in neurology showed that seniors who regularly ate foods rich in certain plant compounds performed like people 11 years younger on memory tests. 11 years. That's the difference between forgetting where you left your keys and remembering your granddaughter's recital. Another large analysis published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that these same foods slashed heart disease risk by nearly 1/3. That's not a small change. That's the kind of protection medications struggle to match. So, why was Robert slipping? Because his diet was stripped of life. No vibrant greens, no living color, no protective shield. Without those nutrients, inflammation raged, cells rusted, and his batteries drained faster every year. When we reintroduced just one specific leafy green into his meals, something remarkable happened. Not a miracle overnight, but a steady revival. Within 3 weeks, he moved easier, his afternoons no longer collapsed into exhaustion, and his words carried a spark of hope. He called me one evening and said, "Doc, I worked on the mower today, and for once, I wasn't wiped out after." Now let me bring this back to you. Think about your own plate. What does it look like today? Is it colorful, alive, protecting you with every bite? Or is it beige, predictable, and slowly stealing your strength? If you feel your plate has been too beige, too empty of color, I want you to write "I'm ready for change" in the comments. That small step could be the first promise you make to your future self. And here's something important. I don't want you to feel guilty. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Once you see the gap, you can begin to fill it. So I'll ask you directly, if something this simple, a food you can find in every grocery store, could add years of energy, clarity, and protection to your life, would you take it? Please, don't just think about it. Make a commitment. Say it out loud. Whisper it if you must, or write it in the comments where others can encourage you. The first step isn't eating the food. The first step is deciding you will not let another year slip away without giving your body the fuel it desperately needs. Robert nearly lost that chance. You don't have to. And in just a moment, I'll reveal exactly what that one leafy green is, the very food that turned Robert's story around, and I'll guide you through how to add it to your life starting today. So here it is, the green that helped Robert turn back the clock. Not a pill, not a powder, just spinach. Yes, spinach, that humble leafy green sitting quietly in every grocery store aisle, often ignored or pushed to the side of the plate. and yet it is one of nature's most powerful medicines. Why is spinach so extraordinary? Let's look closer. Just 1 cup of raw spinach provides almost twice your daily needs of vitamin K, a nutrient that acts like oil for your joints and glue for your bones. Without it, bones become brittle and arteries stiffen like old pipes. With it, blood flows freely and fractures become far less likely. Spinach is also rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that function like sunglasses for your eyes. A study in JAMA Ophthalmology found that seniors who consumed these compounds daily had a 40% lower risk of vision loss from macular degeneration. Imagine being able to keep reading, driving, and recognizing the faces you love, all from what's on your plate. Then there's folate and magnesium, quiet heroes for the brain and heart. Folate helps clear homocysteine, a compound that damages blood vessels and doubles stroke risk when left unchecked. Magnesium keeps heart rhythm steady and calms inflammation that fuels arthritis. And perhaps most importantly, spinach fuels the mitochondria, the batteries inside your cells. When those batteries weaken, you feel fatigue, brain fog, and stiffness. But feed them the nutrients in spinach, and it's like recharging a drained battery pack. Energy returns, memory sharpens, the body hums again. This isn't guesswork. A landmark study from Rush University found that older adults who ate 1 serving of leafy greens daily had brains that performed as though they were 11 years younger. That's not slowing decline, that's reversing it. Now, let's make this practical, because knowing isn't enough. Portion goal. Aim for at least 1 generous handful, about 1 to 1.5 cups of fresh spinach each day. Frequency. If you can, 5 or more days a week. Consistency is key. Simple ways: slip a handful into your morning omelet, blend it into a fruit smoothie, you won't even taste it, stir it into soups, sauces, or pasta, or saute it with garlic and olive oil for dinner. Digestibility tip: if raw spinach feels heavy, steam or saute it lightly. You'll still get the benefits, and your stomach will thank you. Now let me ask you directly, if adding 1 handful of spinach could protect your heart, sharpen your mind, and strengthen your bones, isn't that worth trying? I'd love for you to write in the comments, I commit to adding spinach this week. Why? Because when you write it, you're not just promising me, you're promising yourself. And that first promise is where transformation begins. Robert didn't get better by accident. He made a choice, a simple, repeatable choice. And you have that same choice in front of you today. Picture this. Every time you place spinach on your plate, you're not just eating. You're building a shield against decline. You're charging your batteries. You're giving your future self the gift of more years with energy, clarity, and independence. And that's something no prescription can match. When I think back to Robert, what strikes me most isn't just that his energy returned, it's that his hope returned. Before, every day felt like a door closing. After, each morning felt like another chance. That's the power of a small choice. 1 plate, 1 handful, 1 decision that whispered, I still have time. My story isn't over yet. And I want you to remember this. Your story isn't over either. No matter your age, no matter your struggles, you are still the author of the next chapter. Every meal you prepare, every bite you choose is like writing another line in the book of your life. Will those lines be filled with decline or renewal? I'd love for you to reflect and share in the comments. What's the hardest meal of the day for you to add more greens into? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Your answer might inspire someone else who's wrestling with the same struggle. And if you're ready to make a personal promise, even a small one, say it out loud or type it below. Because once you name your commitment, you take the first brave step toward living it. Remember Robert. Remember his mower, his laughter, his spark returning. If he could find new life at 74, so can you. You still hold the pen. Write the story you want to live. So here's my challenge for you. Don't let this just be another video you watched and forgot. Take 1 action today. Add a handful of greens to your next meal. Notice how your body feels. Then come back and share it with us. Because this isn't just a channel, it's a community. A place where your small victories can inspire someone else to keep going. And trust me, there's someone out there who needs your story just as much as you needed Robert's. If this message spoke to you, tap like so it reaches more people. If you're ready to keep learning simple steps to protect your future, hit subscribe. And don't leave without telling us in the comments, What's the first change you'll make this week? Your life is a gift. Guard it, nourish it, and live every day knowing you still hold the power to write the ending. Until next time, take care, and never forget, your best years can still be ahead of you.